Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you had a safe and happy Easter over the last few days. I know it was quite different to how we may usually spend Easter, but I hope you were able to get inside or get outside and enjoy some sunshine, speak with friends and family over the phone or video, and do some activities that help you relax during this difficult time. My weekend was full of digital firsts. The most memorable, my husband and I had a private jazz session with Ash Gronwald. We were planning on being at the Byron Bay Blues Festival this weekend, as was Ash, and instead we paid Ash a few dollars each to broadcast live to our living rooms. 3 other couples joined us in their living rooms and we all danced up a storm. I know it was so much fun, and I hope that you have had equally great experiences like that, doing very, very different things. In today's update, I'd like to provide you with all the information I have on the JobKeeper subsidy to date. My aim is to be completely transparent, so we're all on the same page. I won't be answering questions like I have in the previous webinars, as everything I say to you now will be all the information I currently know. I don't want to answer questions I simply don't have the answers to yet. So again, I just want to thank you for your patience and support during this time. We will make some more time in the next week or so to be able to answer your questions once we are fully cognizant of everything to do with the JobKeeper legislation. So what we do know, the JobKeeper legislation was passed on Thursday last week, just prior to the Easter break. The executive leadership team and I have worked over the long weekend to understand the legislation, the benefits and our obligations. To help us do this, we have also sought external expert advice to ensure we are putting ourselves in the best position to understand how to proceed. However, given it was Easter break, the government have not provided any additional information to date since last week. As such, we've not received answers to some of the questions we have posed, nor have we received essential information like the employee nomination forms that must be completed by you as part of the process for JobKeeper before any payments can actually be made. The one thing the government did say last Thursday was that they understood that most employers would not be in a position to pay JobKeeper subsidy until the end of April. This is due to the fact that the government has not provided all the information needed to make the payments prior to that time. This means practically that there are no expectations and no penalties to employers or employees if payments are not made before the end of April. For you, this means that the YMCA, along with many other employers, are not in a position, unfortunately, to make JobKeeper payments until at least the end of April. So, despite not receiving any of the government updates over the long weekend, I'd like to take you through what we do understand at this time. So the first thing we need to establish as an employer is whether the YMCA is an eligible employer. As I stated in my last video, we have put our application into the ATO. In fact, we did it within hours of the announcement of JobKeeper. However, so did 770,000 other workplaces. And so the ATO is still working through these applications. I think the ATO understands that they're not going to get to all those applications in time to make an April payment. So they have now stated that employers need to self-assess their eligibility for the first few payments, for the first few fortnights. In response, we have conducted a self-assessment analysis, and we're going to take that to our board tomorrow night. Our understanding is that we have a strong case to assume we will be an eligible employer in all but one entity. For those unaware, YMCA Victoria is comprised of several entities that represent each sectors, or broadly represent each sector we work within. The entity we have identified as being ineligible on the surface will not be forgotten, and we will be applying to the ATO Commissioner directly for an exception to be granted. We do believe the ATO Commissioner should not withhold this exception, but we do have to wait until they provide us with that exception before making any payment for JobKeeper. There are no penalties to the YMCA or indeed any employer for not making any JobKeeper payments. Therefore, where there are additional costs incurred by the YMCA or any employer to administer JobKeeper, the government are not held liable. So to give you an idea of the additional costs the YMCA is facing to do JobKeeper, we've determined that to administer the payments, the JobKeeper payments for 6 months, it's going to amount to about $1.4 to $1.5 million. This includes interest costs from borrowing $10 million at 8% interest, which is about $400,000 for us. Additional workers' compensation insurance of about $600,000 and additional administration of around $400,000. And as you know, this comes at a time when we have lost 90% of our revenue with 90% of our centres closed. We have spoken to the Federal Government Finance Department and they have conceded that this is an unintended consequence and the government had not thought through these types of expenses. And so we have again appealed to the Federal Government to assist us with this. As I've stated many times, our number one priority is the health, safety and well-being of our staff. A big part of this is that we need to ensure there is a YMCA in Victoria for you to all come back to you, to be able to reopen our doors and for you to be able to return to your jobs. We're working around the clock to do this, but the additional cost of 1.4 to 1.5 million unfortunately puts this priority in further jeopardy. To be clear, the JobKeeper payments will amount to $10 million per month and is essentially double what we normally spend in our normal payroll. We have to borrow this money from the bank to make these payments and have so far secured only half of the money needed, around $5 million. However, we are looking for ways to fund the remaining amount and remain very confident that we can do that for you. In order for us to process JobKeeper payments, we will be nominating staff we understand to be eligible. As we've stated before, this is permanent staff as at the 1st of March 2020 and casual staff that have had regular and systematic employment with us for 12 months prior to the 1st of March, and people who are permanent residents and over 16 years old. How will this work for you? We, over the coming weeks, are going to be writing to you, or actually I should say coming days, are going to be writing to you, the people that we think are eligible, and ask you to confirm back to us in writing that you are formally nominating yourself to be part of the JobKeeper scheme. The compliance as to whether you should be receiving the JobKeeper payment from the YMCA is your responsibility to determine. For example, if you have 2 jobs, you can't say yes to both employers to receive the JobKeeper payment. That would be fraud and something the tax office would be extremely and will be extremely vigilant in monitoring. The government's intention with JobKeeper is about keeping a strong connection between employers and employees and getting you all back to work as soon as practical and as soon as safe to do so. Part of receiving the JobKeeper payment will be for you to determine that you remain committed to working for the YMCA, and indeed we are developing many opportunities for people to come back and work during this time. So in summary, we are very committed to making JobKeeper payments to you. But as you can see, there are many obstacles to overcome, including significant administration and correspondence we need from you to comply. However, I'm positive that we will overcome all these obstacles. But I do ask for your patience, responsiveness, and honesty to our requests while we do this. I know a very small minority of you may feel that you need to take this to your union As I understand, you may feel aggrieved that the promises our Prime Minister has made simply are not practically possible for the YMCA and so many employers. As I said 2 weeks ago, I'm aware that Scott Morrison has raised an expectation of businesses, but it is one that we and so many others simply cannot meet immediately. We ask for your unity and the unity of unions to support our position that we absolutely want to pay JobKeeper to you, and we will do so as soon as practical. We're working through this as quickly and diligently as possible, but we need the government's responsiveness and concessions to ensure that we can achieve this together. Again, I want to thank you for your time and your patience and your support during this very difficult time. And I will have another webinar in a week or so to answer more of your questions at that time. Thank you.